Hello and welcome, my name is Hoshiko, and today's cinematography video is all about the SmallRig P96 Pro LED light. So this is a small LED panel with a cold shoe mount that I recently picked up to live on top of my B camera for when I'm filming lighting examples and I want to discuss my setup with the audience. Oftentimes I have most of my lighting gear used to set up for the actual, shots that I'm doing as the examples. So I just might need a little boost without having to do an additional full setup just to present to the camera. For people who are here for just my quick thoughts, I like this light. It is slightly bigger than the normal square ones. It has a solid amount of LEDs and it has bicolor and effects, which are great touches. I am mixed on the cold shoe attachment point, and I do think that the wheel on the back for adjustment is great for some things and terrible for others. But overall, I think that this is a good deal, especially on sale. For details and some examples, do keep watching. So my first thought when I got this light was that I like the diffuser on the front of it. It works well and the light is reasonably softened by it scattering that light. The output is still good, and I will get to that more in a moment. Since this is a small light though, and it's meant to be on camera, it will almost always be smaller than the subject that you're filming. So the soft light aspect of it will always be limited by that relative size. I mean, even here, you can look at it compared to the size of my head. If this was supposed to be a key light filming me for some medium, it's going to always be a smaller point, and that makes that light limited in terms of how soft it can actually look. The cold shoe mount is a little weird square accessory with these pins on the side and a button on the front, and that button presses in to actuate those pins, and the whole block just fits inside of the corresponding square on the mini panel, and you press the button to lock it in. I think it's a little bit of an odd mechanism, but I also think that it seems sturdy enough so far, even though those pins are small. And that quick release aspect of it has actually already been useful to me a couple times. The cold shoe itself is pretty standard and works well enough. It's plastic, but it does not bend or adjust the angle, unfortunately. It does have a 1/4-inch screw mount on the bottom of it, and there is a second 1/4-inch screw mount on the side of the unit so that it can be used vertically as well as horizontally. Maybe my biggest issue with this is the wheel to change the settings. It isn't fully terrible, but in spite of looking like an old iPod scroll wheel, it's not nearly as sensitive because it is physically moving, which I do think helps prevent accidental touches. Then when you turn the light on, you have to flip the little switch and then scroll on the wheel to activate it to turn the light on. The problem is that that's kind of an extra step, and then when you scroll, you might change either the output level or the color temperature slightly as it does turn on. If you turn it off at 5,000 Kelvin and then you finish scrolling to turn it on, you might end up at something like 5,400 Kelvin, which could be an issue if you don't notice it, so you have to pay attention. And that might not be a big issue for some people, but I do find it a little annoying, and I have to take the time to actually rotate it back to where I want it to be. One little trick is that if you leave it set on the intensity rather than the color temperature when you turn it off, I find that when you turn it back on and you accidentally adjust the brightness, it's a little bit less annoying than the color. On the other hand, I do think that the scroll wheel is a great way to adjust the color temperature from 2500 to 6500 and the output level from 1% to 100%. You can dial it into something that is more exact than something like a stepped increase, which is both how the AL-M9 from Aperture and the Ulanzi V49 lights work, that I think are in a kind of similar class to this one. This one has more flexibility and exactness to how you can choose to use it. To switch between the color temperature and intensity, there is a mode button that you first press. If you then hold down that mode button, you switch between the regular light modes and you switch it over to the effect modes, which can be scrolled through with the wheel. If you press the mode button now, it will let you control the intensity of that effect using the wheel. The effects are pulsing, TV, candle, lightning, and fireworks. I think that the latter three are the best ones there, and I was actually pretty impressed with the firework impression for a light that isn't RGB and is this small and this budget. The effect modes are a really great touch for this low budget light. The light charges with a USB-C and seems to have a decent battery life even at higher outputs. SmallRig claims that it's 1.5 hours of continuous running at full power, and then longer if you're not at full power. It can also be charged while in use, which is great if you have a USB compatible battery to power it on a camera rig. That's actually how I'm going to be mostly using it. The light boasts a CRI of over 95 and a TLCI over 98. In terms of output, I was pleasantly surprised that it was more powerful than expected, especially being pushed through the permanently attached diffuser. With 96 LEDs, 48 are blue and 48 are orange, meaning it has one less LED than the Ulanzi light I had previously discussed, but it is at 1 meter more powerful at 90 lux at 5500K compared to the Ulanzi at a max output of 80 lux at 5500K at 1 meter. It's important to recognize that 90 lux at 1 meter is not much. For comparison, my GVM P80S lights are in the 3000 lux range at 1 meter. So I would be hard pressed to suggest this light to be used as something like your only light or your only key light for narrative work unless it is an emergency. And even then it has to be a big enough one to really push the limitations of what this can do. For documentary, I can understand that you're maybe really run and gun and always on the move, and you could also leave it on top of the camera where it's mounted. I think that's a fair use. Where I think this works is as a harder fill, which is kind of my same overall opinion on the ALM9 and the V49. These mini LED lights aren't meant to be proper keys for human sizes, and if you want to use them as such, it will limit your exposure, create a harder look, and you'll need a wider aperture. And even then, you might end up with too much contrast to be a pleasant image. But I will concede that they are bright enough that in a pinch it can be done. But if that is the case, it is best to redesign the shot to be something like an extreme close-up of a selected part of the body of your subject rather than a whole medium or wide, trying to just work within the constraints of the light's ability. That would be my suggestion if you end up in that kind of emergency lighting situation. The following examples will show you the power level as well as some other tests and overall examples of how this can look from the P96 Pro. While the wheel on the back has a bit of an annoyance to it, I think the usefulness of it as opposed to limited hard stops when making adjustments, especially small adjustments, evens things out. Otherwise, I do think this light has good output, a good diffuser, good effects, flexible controls, and it all comes in a great package that is both small and still a little bigger than some other lights of the same-ish price range. This light is best for on-camera front fill light, it's suitable for moderate power fill light, and it has the opportunity to be used for a low power hair light. If you're somebody who needs a softer on-camera light for a camera rig, or if you want a small light that you can toss on a stand for a quick and dirty fill light or a quick and dirty hair light, this could work out well for you. And it has a bit more to offer in terms of those effects and the bi-color aspect. Let me know if you have any questions about the SmallRig P96 Pro. You can leave those in the comments down below. Hey, that rhymed. I always love getting comments. If you want to pick up one for your kit, I do have affiliate links for it down in the video's description. Those do help support the channel at no extra cost to you. I do also have affiliate discount codes for 10% off of both DEHANCER film emulation software and GVM products. If you like lighting equipment videos like this one, please give the video a like to help me with the YouTube algorithm and reaching other viewers who also like these kinds of videos. And if you want, you can subscribe for upcoming videos about tools and techniques for cinematography, lighting, and micro-budget filmmaking in general. I have lots of cool videos planned. I am so excited. I am also currently aiming for 200 total supporters and members of my Patreon, which helps support me in making these videos. I have free tiers that start at $0, and I have paid tiers that start at just $2. You can go over to patreon.com/TrentonHoshiko to learn more. I really do appreciate everybody who has gone over there and joined. Thank you so much. You are really helping make these videos possible for everyone. I do also use Ko-fi and Buy Me a Coffee if you prefer those options for creator support. If you want to connect with me on social media, my Blue Sky, Mastodon, Hey.Cafe, PixelFed, Filmmaking Tumblr, and Cinematography blog links are all down in the video's description. If you haven't heard yet, I have launched a photography channel called Trenton Hoshiko Photography, and I am doing videos over there about my photography work. If that sounds compelling to you at all, I'd really appreciate you subscribing and watching my videos over there. I have some really fun stuff planned over there as well. This week, take care of yourselves, take care of people in your community, do something that celebrates your life and your connection to the world around you. And as always, I hope you have a very good day. Peace.